on my LinkedIn feed. A
Oh,
lot
boy.
of stuff
Oh,
from
boy.
Zac Kinch is coming across my LinkedIn feed. So we need to talk a little bit about what's going on. I've been trying to get you to sit down and do a podcast literally for 2 weeks about this. You're like, oh, I got to sell cars. I got to support my sales staff.
I'm back on the floor.
You dove into this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so we had a leadership change where it was either hire somebody to replace that individual or the inevitable that you tend to not want to do, get back in the weeds. And I chose at this time of the year to really get back in the weeds. Our store has still battled inventory allocations with Toyota. So I have a lot of sales staff that you can feel the tension, the pressure, the frustrations of, hey, all my buddies are selling cars. They're getting numbers out. They're increasing their income, and it's still difficult here. So I was like, man, what a good time for me with the opportunity of change to roll the sleeves up and get back in the business. And to all those haters on LinkedIn, yeah, I'm talking to you. It does not mean that I'm not tied into the sales floor on a day in, day out. It's the difference of day in, day out, I'm spending 8 hours a day on the sales floor. And that's why we haven't been able to do any kind of podcast or anything, because I'm truly prioritizing the job on the sales floor as sales. So it's been intriguing. I took 5 individuals on teams here at Roman Toyota. How we do the sales floor is there's not a new car manager, used car. If I'm a team leader and Austin's a team leader, my paycheck comes from the individuals on my team. Austin's paycheck comes from the individuals on his team. So their success is 100% my success. And how we broke this month out was me taking 4 out of the 5 individuals on this team who have really struggled with production. They would sell 9 cars, they would sell 15. Then the next month they'd sell 7, and then 16, and then 10, and 12, and 15. And it's like, man, we got to get you consistent for you to stay here. And boy, oh boy, did I take off. I bit off more than I could chew.
Well, I think you mentioned the haters, which is so funny because, it is the internet. And it's very easy to type things. But especially if you've never actually held the position of a general manager, it's probably pretty easy to think you know what's going on. But some of the posts were kind of interesting, right? Like going through these. And so one of the ones I would point out just right away, you detected some CRM issues, which not necessarily an issue with the CRM. They were fantastic. They showed up the next day. With
Full disclaimer, there was no CRM issue. I had our brand partner, Techion, obviously working with us. We're on their CRM DMS. I had posted that within, I think it was week 1, I had found 2 issues in the CRM where people were trying to work around the issue instead of fix it.
Yeah.
And I made a post about just how frustrating it was to get on the sales floor and think everything was operational and go, hey, this is week 1. I'm finding 2 things that I can't do in the program. And the response was, well, we're too busy, so we just found a way around it.
Yeah.
And within like 48 hours, I had executive vice presidents, I had brand managers, I had, product specialists from Techion on the phone going, what did you discover? I had other general managers who were on Techion calling me, directors of operation, and it was like, oh boy, I think I made a mistake by posting this. It was, and I've gone back and clarified, like, there is nothing wrong in it. It was how we wanted to use the system, and it wasn't operational in that sense. And to their point, it's funny how you post something on social media just trying to communicate.
Yeah.
And 10 seconds later, I have Techion individuals standing in our showroom.
I think it shows how awesome a brand partner that Techion is, that they show up. And it also shows you the power of social media posts. So,
yeah, it was not intentional, Techion. You guys are great. It's not your problem. Well, it is your problem, but you guys are working on fixing it.
So speaking of the power of social media, a little bit of a tangent. There was a really cool stat we had the other day. Are we going to be able to show that about the lead generation? All right, so I'm going to pull this up.
Yeah,
because
Google Analytics.
Yeah, it was really interesting about the Google Analytics and just driving leads to the dealership, because that's what we'll talk about. Obviously, your social channels with Roman Toyota have gone crazy over the last year. You've really focused on it. So
yeah, and I think as you're pulling it up, I think, so for everybody to understand this, like, you have your social platforms, you have everything out there, you have your lead sources, which are your Cars.com, your Auto Trader, Edmunds, Car Gurus, all the legacy names you've heard in the car business forever and ever, True Cars out there, etc. Those all generate traffic, and the traffic that they've really tried to move away from is saying, hey, this person, let's use the name Ted. Ted goes to legacy online provider company, searches for a car in your inventory. Ted now has a lead in your name that you need to follow up with. To try to, instead of generate Ted as a lead, to drive dealership website traffic. So they're all trying to refer you back to RomanToyota.com, which if you haven't, RomanToyota.com, you should go to right away. But they're trying to show what they're actually making as an impression and engagement and driving back there. And our big push has been in social for the last, I think now 18 months, to just get brand awareness. So it was as of probably 90 days ago, really, where Logan and I sat down and said, like, hey, we need to start looking at how to push this. And he had built out our link tree. And it was so funny. We had a Google Analytics meeting, just wrapping up 2024, looking forward to 2025. And I raised my hand in the meeting and said, hey, I don't see any of our organic channels. Is there something missing? And that's where this email came back from, was to you and I going, hey, we actually had something not showing in it. We pulled up your link tree, and bam, we'll show the graphic here. It became shocking to see what organic social is doing for us versus lead providers and obviously the big king of all leads, anything, Google.com. So,
yeah, it's like Google Organic, Google pay-per-click, and then just people directly typing into the website. Those are the top 3.
Yep.
And then you have your link tree. And so what's interesting about the link tree is like not only the number of sessions, but also the engagement rate of the platform. And it's crazy just to see, you know, how much business, how many sessions that's really driving to your website, which we talk about it this day and age, the digital showroom, right? It's like getting people onto your website. Maybe it's getting people onto your Amazon Prime page of your, you know, your Hyundai. Again, which that, going back to that conversation, that's another lead source, you know, for dealers. But yeah, this was wild when I saw this. I'm like, oh, we have to talk about this.
Yeah, and I think the part that's the insane, you know, metric to look at here is, you know, if you break down lead providers and you break down, you know, our social team, dollar for dollar spend is pretty similar. Like when you look at that and the response is like, well, I'll just put more money behind a lead provider. I'm like, well, think about what also you're getting in here. Like these are organic leads that are coming to you because they saw something that you produced that they engaged with. Now there's a trust. Now there's a involvement. Now there's a buy-in. What do you think the closing percentage is from, I have no clue who you are, but I saw your best price, to, wow, I really enjoy these guys. Maybe I should see what they have.
Yeah, like I want to buy a car from them, right? Because they already saw your faces. They get a feel for your personality. Now they're going to the website for like, hey, this is your business platform.
And that's what this is all about. Like people who have asked us on LinkedIn that see us, the vendors and everything, they're like, why are you guys doing social? Why are you guys using a podcast? This is not on my bucket list. This was on your bucket list, by the way.
It was. Not anymore.
But it's to literally be like, you know, this is an opportunity that we want to explore and see where it's going. And for the first time ever, and I will be very transparent here, I can stand on the other side of the camera and say, like, this is validity to everything I have done. And me looking at this going, holy cow, I haven't seen this yet. And all of the mentors we've had, all the people that have shared, that's like, you have to do 100 podcasts. You have to do 100 media posts. You have to do this. And we're kind of like, yeah, well, we see traction here. We see traction there. And then to get this, and it's like, oh, man, Logan, we need to sit down and double down. We got to figure out how to get our website in more of these posts. We got to figure out calls to actions and different things. And the big push is going to be, my reality stake in this is like, I think these leads we generate will drive 30% close versus these third-party lead sources we're celebrating at 12, 14, 15. So that's going to be insane to watch. And then the other side of it is there are these unique moments that make you feel very, you know, confident about social media. And I'm sure you've had them. But there'll be Saturdays where I'm walking through the showroom and a customer I've not even spoke to will look up at me and start waving.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the heck is going on? They're like, oh, they saw your social media video or whatever. And you're like, well, that's extremely odd that they feel like they know me. But as we've even met people on the social platform, it's been like, you know, day one, there's no meet and greet. It's like, oh, I know who that person is.
Yeah.
So there's that behind the scenes relationship piece that is what the car business is, and it's a people business.
Yeah, and I think after seeing this, now the thing, and you mentioned like a call to action. Okay, it's like how many other actions can we convert? You know, you talk about closing rate. Okay, there is sort of a regional aspect to this where you're not going to sell a ton of cars to people in like Canada or South Carolina or California, whatever, right? But now it's like, what other ways can I convert? You know, can I convert with resumes? Can I convert with dealer trades even? I mean, I'm just thinking of like all the different ways that you can do that with a social platform. Getting to know people, people get to know you that you wouldn't normally be involved with.
Yeah, I think as you're starting to see even on your social platform, the hiring piece is going to be wave 2. And I think we've always said from the very beginning, if you go back to any of the podcasts, like that was the initial, was like, how do we get in front of more people to hire them? And again, from my standpoint, I've had resumes. We've hired 2 salespeople that have come through social media. We've hired a technician through social media here, but it's not been what I thought it would be. But I think this next wave is going to be that domino of people going, oh my gosh, like I have seen you guys for a year. I know what you're doing. I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And I think there's a perfect storm coming of the economy changing Inventory allocations are coming back. Inventory is a massive problem. There are unbelievable car deals out there for 90% of the brands, makes, and models. And I think as that happens and the car business gets more difficult, people are going to become free agents and go looking for dealerships and brand groups that are doing the car business differently. And that's where I think we've placed ourselves on literally the tip of the iceberg being that. So we'll see what 2025 brings, but I think it's going to be insane.
Yeah, you never know where it's going to go. I mean, that's the part of it is just like start posting. See what happens. You never know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
I think there's been a couple videos that have popped up recently, like we've done over a year ago on some of the different platforms, and it's fun to look back at not only the style that we did it in, which you'd look back at now and be like, yeah, I'd probably change a little bit of that, but also just like, man, at the time, did we know that it was going to turn into this? No. Absolutely not.
No.
I had never in my wildest dreams, right? Would you have think that it would turn into whatever social platforms there are? Or you would make a LinkedIn post and, your Techion would be at your door like, hey, how can I help?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, by all means, I would say through today's day 17 of posting and everything. Today I went over 200,000 total impressions on just these day posts. And it's like never in 1,000 years would I think that, because a year ago, a good LinkedIn post was 1,500 impressions. And I remember being like, this one went viral at 1,500 impressions. And now it's like 24, 42, 38,000, 35. And then you get the one random one of 1,200. And you're like, what is going on? But it's that part of that journey of learning, what does the algorithm respond to? What are the questions? And how do I get my community behind me to help me grow? And I think that's what I've learned is in the social media journey, the more I give, the more successful I've become. And when I say success, I mean dealership operations, hiring and staffing, brand awareness, individuals on our team contributing. I'm not talking more successful in dollars. I'm talking more successful in there's 5 people here producing full-time content. Well, next year, can we get that to 15? What would that look like? So
yeah, I think we got a little off track here. It was a good discussion, but let's go back to LinkedIn posts. I want you to sum up, because these salespeople were inconsistent, underperforming.
Yeah.
Maybe what are the 1 or 2 things that you've discovered and worked with them on that could help someone out there that might be a struggling salesperson?
Yeah, I think there's 3 things that I would summarize. The first is consistency is the key to execution. I think that these individuals have struggled with the term perfectionism. And no, I do not believe that they're trying to be perfect. I think they're trying to be better every day. And because of that, they get so stuck in trying to do something the way they heard it and be so perfect in explaining every detail that they forget that this is a relationship business, that this is a transaction that's occurring, but the way the transaction occurs is when the exchange of trust occurs.
So what I'm hearing is like they don't let their personality shine through because they're so worried about exactly what they're trying to say and do.
Yeah, and I think that the problem that happens is their execution then falls because they're not consistent in what they're trying to do on every day.
Probably because they don't feel comfortable with.
Well, and I'm sure like they're under the pressure. This isn't a good start. What do I need to do? There's desperation that comes in. So a great example of this is I had an individual that I literally said, hey, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the numbers with you. I want you, because this isn't what you typically do, I want you to present these. But the moment you get down to the question of, do you want to do business today? Which option works best for you? I want you to literally look up, because I'll be walking in. And this is what I want you to say. Can you say what I said? Yes. Great. I'm going to let you go because you have great rapport. Sits down, and the first thing out of their mouth was, okay, so we're going to go over numbers at first. If you don't like what we go over, we always will come back with better offer. Here's what we have for you. And I sprinted over full speed going, hi, my name's Zach. I'm the general manager. I'm so excited that you came in. Let's talk. What did you want? Yeah. And we started all the way back at step 1, not even presenting numbers, because it was the shock factor of, wow, we were closing and you got into creating an objection.
Right.
So pulling them off the side, it's like, why did you do that? And it's like, man, I knew what she wanted. And I'm like, we just present what we present. Yep. We show what we show, and we literally go from there. And that's that key to that. The second one that's literally been a very difficult path is, again, these individuals are inconsistent because they are doing something incorrectly. And it comes back to that consistency. Our leadership team here is giving rope or leash to those individuals when they don't deserve it. Like, I go back to the mindset. I have 3 kids that are under the age of 8. And we're really struggling right now with our 8-year-old in the sense of she now has full autonomy of her body to make decisions. Her motor skills are there. It's not like my 3-year-old, when I say 4-year-old, sorry, to my wife, 4-year-old, when I say, hey, go to your room, you're in trouble, and it's immediately to his room, he knows he's in trouble.
Yep.
It's go to your room, you're in trouble, to the 8-year-old, and it's I don't want to go to my room. I'm not going to my room.
Yep.
You're the worst dad in the world.
Yep.
And it's like instantly this conversation of with salespeople, like, if we ask you to do this, if we say to do this, if we, show you why we're going to do this, you need to do it. Mm-hmm. And it gets into that battle of, hey, I need to hold you closer to me than allowing you to take phone ups by yourself. Yeah. I need to hear what you're saying and why you said it. And then I need to ask you and to be open and able to say, I don't know why I did that, instead of making up an excuse. And it goes back to the individual that, TO'd the deal and started in on presenting numbers. And I said afterwards, why would you start that way? And he never answered it. And I came back to it the next day and said, I'm not leaving the room until you tell me the why. And the answer was, I honestly didn't even know I said that.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, if you just would have been open and honest about that, we now can go train on what to say so you're more prepared the final time. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of the tough one on the second one. And then the third part is going back to the sales floor. I am so much reminded of how much we ask our salespeople to do and how many times we discount in our brain that they don't want to sell cars. They're not checked in. They're not focused on what they need to accomplish and realize, man, one day is a lot of work. And what we ask them to do every single day, every single week is more than what we remind ourselves it is in a leadership position.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of humbling of going, man, they are truly the backbone, lifeblood of the dealership operations of dealership acquisition, meaning new customer conquest. Like if somebody wants to come meet Rorman Toyota, they're the face of it.
Yep.
So we need to make sure we praise them. We need to make sure we build them up, and we need to make sure that we do everything we can in leadership to make their job easier because it is a tough job. If you don't believe it, 30 days on the sales floor, by day 17, you'll be saying what I'm saying.
Yeah, and a tough job that doesn't always have results either because you're going to have a couple of days where you're going to sell 3 cars.
Yeah.
And think about how many other days you're working that you're not accomplishing what your job is, which is to sell cars. Sure, you might be moving closer to it. The contacts that you're making, maybe the social media posts that you're getting, the leads that you're working, but you don't have that finalized boom, I did my job, right? So
for sure.
I can imagine. Yeah, it's tough. Selling cars is a lot of fun though. It can be a lot of fun.
I will say that for the first week, I said to my wife, every day, she's like, "You're going to work early today." I was like, "I am." And it's just that invigorating. That's where my passion of the car business came from. I think majority of people start at this level of the dealership. I haven't been able to do it for 17 days straight for years. So to be able to go there and check in and be able to grind and hop in deals, hop out of deals, meet new customers, shake hands, you truly get to see the operation of your dealership. I said to someone, it felt like I was going back in to do open heart surgery, and I got to see how the heart actually operates. And then truly be like, okay, am I doing and making decisions that makes the heart beat better, or am I doing and making decisions that make it more difficult to operate in? So there's definitely 2 or 3 things that I promise in January won't be things we ask people to do, because I've now been back in the weeds going, oh, these are things that we put in place that aren't actually functioning in efficiency.
So how does the month end? We got kind of a weird end to the month with the Christmas in the middle of the week thing.
Yeah, it's going to be quick. It always is. So the last 10 days of the year are insanity. We got 2 more to go before we're there. These next 2 or 3, we will lose to Santa Claus. Santa is by far undefeated in marketing. So we will lose that one. We'll hang on for our hats and battle through this one. But then those last 10 days are the greatest 10 days of a retail car salesman's career every year. So I am jacked up. Those will be ding-da-dongs every minute of every day here because they're absolutely fun. It's the push to the end of the year, but I would expect in the last 10 days we do 50% of our total operation in retail sales.
Crazy.
So, yeah, it will be a mass finish, and we're looking forward to it. And if you want to continue to following the journey, LinkedIn, I love the comments and reposts. That's the thing I would say so far right now is seeing the interaction, getting to meet people. Check us out. You'll find stuff like this on there. I can tell you guys, if you want to get on social media, check out Dealer Plate Guy. Austin's platform is absolutely blowing up. Just launched a website.
Yeah, I got a website. We got a lot of stuff working. It's going to be a fun 2025 for the Dealer Plate Guy.
For sure.
Club.
Could be massive. 100,000 followers, 2025?
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Across all platforms or just single one?
Just on one platform.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see. Even George Saliba, honestly. Okay. So, put that down. Put that down.